members on a number of them will watch it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Jerry. Right. So, Courtney, thanks again for joining us. I did hit the record button just now. That's your warning. We are the Motorcycling Rotarians. I'm not sure how much Jerry has told you about us, but as I mentioned just a second ago, we have members all over the U.S. and Canada, primarily U.S. and Canada. We have a member in Mexico City and I believe one in Guatemala still. But we are open to membership everywhere. We, rather than having the physical location that we're all tied to like a typical Rotary Club, we all ride motorcycles. So that's what we have. I think we're coming up on 8 years. That sound about right, guys? And Jerry and Rory. Let's see. Actually, you got a lot of founding members on this call. So a bunch of us are founding members. Jerry was my sponsor of my Rotary Exchange when I was a child. So we've known each other for a good long time. So I'd like to start out with everybody, give everybody a couple minutes. Do we have any happy bucks? Anything to share?
I had a birthday today.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Happy birthday.
That's awesome.
Happy birthday, Rob. I'm leaving for Kenya tomorrow afternoon. Getting the hell out of the cold again.
Jerry, how long were you home? 3.5 minutes?
5 days, five
5 whole
miserably semi-warm
days. That's awesome. Well, Courtney, like we mentioned, oh, Rory, did you have something?
Say my happy bucks for last Tuesday. That was my birthday.
Oh, well, I'm sorry we missed that. I gotta get better. I'll get the calendar straightened out. We'll get birthdays on there and then we can I almost said ignore you. That's not what I meant. Embarrass you in public with silly videos and songs, which is my favorite thing to do for birthdays. Um, so Courtney, like I mentioned, we have just a handful on the here tonight. We generally have 20-ish or more that watch the video once we do post it. So friends, I want to say thank you to Courtney again for being here. Courtney is the Senior Director of Partnership and Development for Wine to Water, which Jerry found and wants to look at this as a potential club opportunity. Wine to Water does amazing projects around the world, and they have a building water filters project that might be ideal for our club since we're always looking for something that we can do dispersed as a single club opportunity. So, Courtney, thank you again for joining us, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to join your meeting this evening. I am going to share my screen, so bear with me just a moment. And since,
And if you have sound that you're planning to share, make sure you check that little box at the bottom when it pops up.
okay, I don't think I'm going
Okay,
to this one just because sometimes it's glitchy. And so I'll follow up with a video or the one I sent last week if we want to send that out.
perfect.
If it
Thank you.
hasn't already been shared, that could work. Let's present. Can you all see? Is it full for you all?
It is. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, yes, thank you so much for having me. And before I kind of share a little bit more about wine to water, I don't know if you all did any research or maybe you're familiar, but probably not. Um, why I have been at the organization for 9 years and why I was even initially passionate about the clean water crisis and learning more about it and really getting my hands dirty, if you will, was stories like Sanjali's. I was in Nepal on a volunteer trip and we were digging ditches. And if you all have been to Nepal or maybe in India, I know Jerry was just there, right near the Indian border in the jungle. So lowlands, super hot in Nepal. And we were digging ditches alongside their women in Ryatal, and they looked just beautiful, not sweating at all. And I'm just like beet red like a tomato, and sweating. And I was just getting so frustrated because it was like every swing of the pickaxe was the rock that I hit was harder than the last one. And so I was like, okay, Courtney, you just gotta like chill out. So I like went over, I got some water. I was like, I just need to like rest for a moment and regroup. And it was in the shade that I was standing, and I looked over and I saw this sweet baby. I saw sweet baby Sanjali just sleeping in her cradle on her front porch. And just in that moment, I was so overcome, like truly with emotion, knowing like she'll never know what it's like to walk for water after this project's done. She and all of the children in this community. will never know what it's like to walk for water. And that's that generational impact that just stayed with me, resonated with me in every community I go to. There's so many more Sanjalis, and it's just that generational change. And it all just begins um, with someone caring enough, like you all, to learn more or act. And just one drop of water in a whole system can really change the trajectory of someone's life and a whole community's life. So, Wine to Water. Found Wine to Water, and I'm so committed to this mission and cause. But we're an international organization founded by a bartender turned humanitarian, also a very avid motorcycle rider. I don't even know if that's the correct terminology, but I see him on his Harley riding like this. Um, but Doc learned about the global water crisis in 2004, and soon after found himself living in Darfur, Sudan during the genocide. And Doc really learned how to repair wells. You can see up there in that top right-hand picture, that's him in Darfur. Learned how to repair wells with the tools and the resources locally available, and how to train and empower local leaders to manage and maintain the systems. And fast forward more than 20 years, Wine to Water is still molded this way. This is like our DNA. It's like local teams, they know the language, they know the culture, they know how to build rapport deep, deep, deep beyond the last mile communities that we work in the Amazon jungle, in the Himalayas in Nepal, the Serengeti in East Africa, wherever we work. It's really important that we rally a group of local people from the community to be on the water user committee and really lead the initiative alongside of our teams. We have 7 offices around the world, staffed by locals. Again, as I mentioned, it's really critical to the success and long-term sustainability of our work. So although we have 7 country offices, and I'm here in North Carolina in our international headquarters, we have programs in over 60 countries. So a lot of what we do is also disaster response, working in refugee settlements. We're responding to disasters. Currently, we're in Sri Lanka. We're still responding in Jamaica, moving to the Philippines, and looking at Sudan right now, and still providing clean drinking water in Western North Carolina post Hurricane Helene. So why water? You all probably know, as Rotarians, you all also are committed to making sure people have access to clean water as one of your grounding pillars. But unfortunately, millions of women and children usually start their day out long before the sun rises. Um, and their morning looks more like this. Um, Long walks to carry water. That looks more like the coffee I drank this morning. You can see in those containers. That's not something I want my kids to drink. I know that's not something that you all want to drink, or your friends, or your family, or your loved ones. And it really is a barrier to education, to improved health, all of the things that kind of perpetuates that cycle of poverty for communities around the world. But water is such a simple, and basic necessities, but also the solution is so simple. And it really is a catalyst to create transformational change in all of these pillars. Improved health. If kids can stay in school, they can go, or if they're not collecting water, they can actually go to school. Or if they're not just too sick because they have diarrheal illnesses constantly, they can actually go and thrive. And is really important, especially for girls as they get older. And so Wine to Water not only do we do water, but we say we're a WASH organization. So we do water access, sanitation, and hygiene, because you can have clean water, but if you don't understand the importance of washing your hands after using the restroom or before you eat, or even understanding that the water is what's causing a lot of these illnesses, and how to really protect the environmental systems that we are working in, even surrounding water and water conservation is also very important to us. And so really when we think about beyond water, I want to show you what this looks like, even from like an economic standpoint. And so I was also taking you back to Nepal, one of my favorite places that I never thought I would fall in love with. But this is Katashwara, Nepal, and I can remember visiting. This is before water. We were again digging the trenches. I guess that's just what I like to do to lay the pipeline underground. We all do it by hand because that's what the community uses. Those are the tools that they use. So we're going to use the tools right alongside them, and the community members are doing it with us. That is their buy-in into the water system and the whole project. So we're digging miles of trench line to lay the pipe to connect the natural spring that is up there in the hillside. You can't see it, but just keep walking up that hill that you see in the background. And it's going to be a gravity fed system. It connects to reservoir tanks and then all connects to a tap stand at each home. And so I had the very immense privilege to visit Katashwara two more times. So I've been there three times. And the last time I was there was the picture I took on the right. And I was taken back. Like I was amazed. I looked at Roshni, our country director, and I was like, this is not the same community. Like I did not recognize it at all. Like I could not find my way around in this beautiful hillside town or community. And same picture, and it's just lush, as you can see. They now have like agricultural seasons year round. They don't have to wait for the rainy season because they have clean water. And not just clean water, but just even enough water contained. They're expanding their agricultural yield and building irrigation systems. And the leaders came up to me. They're so proud. And they're like, oh my gosh, we're growing cucumbers and avocados and mustard greens and tomatoes, which is like a cash crop. And through translation, of course, I asked them, I was like, out of curiosity, like, what do you think the biggest difference is before and after water? And they were so happy to share that now that they have access to clean water and they're growing all this food, not just for their family to eat, but they can really thrive and then sell the cash crops and all the remaining foods year round in a local market. And so they said now, less than 18 months after clean water, they're earning about equivalent to 1,200 US dollars a year per family, when before it was 100. And so like just that beyond water, like impact, they just needed water, maybe needed a leg up, if you will. Um, but it's just amazing to see the true catalyst and that like side by side, like to see it firsthand. And I hope to go back in another 18 months and see the transformation of that community. So that's where you all could come in. There's just so many ways that people support our work. It could be, of course, through direct program support. So we've worked with other Rotaries, organizations, corporate partners, individuals. We are not government funded at all. We actually have zero government grants. We never have. We rely on private funding and the generosity of people around the world. So it could be directly supporting or sponsoring communities like Katashwara, but you could also come and get your hands dirty, like come on a volunteer trip. I'm just waiting for Jerry to get out. He's just jet setting around the world, so maybe he can come and get you all to come alongside with us. The roads in Nepal are a little windy and crazy, but people are on motorcycles. So there's always ways to get your hands dirty on a volunteer trip. Um, this gentleman is building a ceramic filter, so it's one technology we use. In the Dominican Republic, Tanzania, and South Africa, we have ceramic filter factories, and it's locally sourced clay, sawdust, and actually liquid nanosilver, acting as an antibacterial agent that's baked inside. It's pretty impressive technology, but it's fragile. And so because it's fragile, it's really hard to get it out into, the remote places in Sudan and Dadaab refugee camp and Kenya and Pakistan, all the places that we work around the world. And they're big, so they're not only fragile, they're hard to ship, it's expensive. And so our founder, Doc, was always looking for another technology that is portable, small. You could pack hundreds or thousands into a lot of duffel bags and get them quickly into really remote places that need water quickly. And so you can see this on the, let me see if you can see it. Yeah, on the right. So this is our drop filter, as we like to call it, for disaster response operations. And we have used a similar membrane filter for more than 10 years in communities around the world. But with Doc's vision, he really wanted to be able to be more unique, to be able to control the supply chain, if you will, but also to really have a social enterprise model that people, everyday people can even purchase this for themselves and use it camping, biking, and then all of that revenue comes back to us. So this filter actually right here under filter build is Wine to Water's own filter that we manufacture in Eastern Tennessee and assemble in Western North Carolina. But so we have people all over the world sponsor these filters. And so they're $65 a piece to sponsor, but each one can last for up to 10 years. We were in Uganda last year following up on filters from 11 years ago and still perfectly safe and clean water to drink. So as long as they're maintained and cleaned, and it's super easy to clean that syringe that you see right in front, right here, it's just the cleaning and you back flush it. And so our filter builds are a great way like to have a hands-on solution to providing clean water to a family or a classroom around the world. And it's really easy. We can walk you through a virtual one since we're all virtual, and you each will have your own kit and we'll walk through it. And then even at the end, you get to write a note to the family or the school receiving it. And so it filters out 99.99999% of all bacteria, protozoa, anything that's going to cause diarrheal illnesses, and 100% of microplastics. So they're super portable, easy to use. And once they're sponsored, assembled, then they go out into the field. And to do this is that kind of transformational piece again. It's people like Mama Stella and her daughter Alinda, who, because they have that filter, and Alinda's holding one of our older generation filters in her hand in Uganda. And before water, they used to sell their goats and chickens just to treat all of the constant diarrheal sicknesses, the stomach issues. Ever since they got that filter, and about 2 years ago, they haven't gotten sick. They were constantly sick with affected by cholera and typhoid. It was just an ongoing battle. And so to hear Alinda say like that her stomach problems used to be her biggest problem, but now she's fine. So that is the impact of just like what one filter can do for one family. Nope. And so I think that's it. I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what a filter um, could do, but I'm sure you all have questions, and I will stop sharing.
That's awesome, Courtney. Thank you. So obviously everybody in this group is probably thinking, I am at least, how can we help? What can we do? How can we support what you're doing?
So if you want, I know this is what Jerry and I had talked about. If you all, and I can follow up with some more detailed information about a filter build. If your club wanted to sponsor a certain amount of filters, one per person, two per person, get your families involved. It's a really great way to like get your neighbors, your families, whomever, if you want. And we can build them together during one of your times or organize a separate time for them. Some people pay and sponsor them outright from their dues or their personal um, philanthropy budget, if you will. Or some people choose to fundraise for it and say, hey, this is a way that our community can also rally around a common cause and maybe even make a bigger impact by how many filters can we sponsor and assemble together. So there are many ways that we can help facilitate that, but once like you have the filter and we organize it, it's such a simple, seamless, like I walk you through the steps, a hands-on activity that truly changes lives.
So is it obviously because we're all dispersed, right? We'd end
Mhm.
up sending filters everywhere.
Mhm.
Is that typically, I mean, typically I would think you guys would probably send them all to one place and everybody would sit around together and do them. Is that going to be cost prohibitive? Obviously we'd cover that, but I'd like to see, I guess where I'm going with that is I'd like to see like I'm sure we all want to do this project together and put our hands on something. That's why we
Mhm.
do this. But is there
Yeah.
also an opportunity for us to sponsor a build in one single place, maybe nearer to the production facility that would
Mhm.
be more bang for the buck?
Both. We could do both. So the good things that came out of COVID was that we started doing filter builds virtually, just like this. So it could be one filter, however many filter to each person's home or to workplace. So we are equipped to do that. Or if you all had plans sometime this year and you want to get on your bikes and take a field trip. We could also come to our warehouse in Boone or some centrally located place. If you all are planning a trip or meeting, we can facilitate in person, on site, or even virtually, and you all are on site. So there's just definitely many ways that we can organize that.
I think
Let
go
me
ahead.
talk a little bit here if you could.
Yep.
My original vision on this came from my daughter. My daughter and my granddaughter assembled a couple of them recently. They were here at Trinity Lutheran Church in Grand Blanc, Michigan, is where they did their thing. And I caught wind of it. I'm like, hey, this would be an opportunity for our club to do a hands-on project. So, and my thought is to get started doing that by picking up, getting back to everybody and saying, okay, how many do you want to do, or you could do, and get a hold of your friends. We set a date in the future, and then we make it happen as a virtual event together. Because we struggle being able to do projects like this. This would be great to do. That's my vision on doing this from a start point of view. And then, of course, me, hop a plane? Sure. I'm actually going to be in Nepal in April. Anyway, but that was my thought on this, a hands-on where we could all do it. So my question to Courtney, though, is about how long does it take to do one filter, roughly?
The first one, when we're walking through it together, 7 minutes, and that
Oh,
might
wow.
be generous. But usually we go slow the first time. But then once you get the hang of it, the next one is, 3 to 5 minutes, maybe.
And you said they're
You can start,
$65 a piece, right?
yes, and they can last up to, again, like 10 years. And
Does that account for shipping?
Um, it does not. So usually it's $2 per filter for shipping inside the United States, but I would have to just check back with our operations team, depending on, because that's usually like one box, like bulk shipment. So let me just check back with operations team, and we can get an estimate of locations too.
Yeah, Jerry, what I'm thinking would be good is if we could do this, start small, if you will, and say, hey, we're going
Yeah.
to do this, and then use that as an opportunity for us to, you know, proof it out and bring some people who might be interested. And this might be a good one for us to, Courtney, most of us
Mhm.
have a local, what we call brick and mortar club in our
Mhm.
area. And we
Okay.
have quite a few members who are actually associate members of our club, but like full members of another club. So maybe this is one where we could proof this out and then
Mhm.
take it out. Because one of the things we've been trying to do is be more active in the Rotary community
Mhm.
in general. So,
Yeah, wonderful.
um, but yeah, Jerry, I agree. Like just doing this as okay, everybody pony
Yeah.
up for two, or whatever it happens to be, and then
Mhm.
maybe the club could cover shipping, something like that, where we can just pull it out. But we can definitely talk.
I I had an encounter, or I talked with Chris Jones today. Courtney, do you know Chris? Chris used to be the CEO of Rise for Hunger, and he had done events jointly with you guys in the past, and
Yeah.
we're going back 5, 10 years ago. So,
Yeah, I actually just had a meeting with their current CEO last week. So
how
yeah,
about that?
their founder used to be on our board and would do these
Yeah.
filter builds with us.
So it wouldn't be a total crash start for us was from an experience point of view with Chris involved to help figure out how we could put this together as an event for the club. So
Hmm. And we can
that's
help facilitate that on our end too. So even if, Amanda, you went to your local Rotary and you want to do this, like that's something that we can do. We can facilitate it virtually just like this. Or we also have our filter build team and they can come on site to do it too and talk about wine to water. We have great videos to show that are really inspiring, 5 minutes long, heartfelt. We do a filter demo. I don't have it with me, but showing the dirty to clean water and have people drink it. We could always incorporate like a water walk, which could be like a relay race or even actually walking a distance with buckets. It helps kind of do the walk a mile in their shoes type of it. It can prolong it to an hour or hour and a half event, but there's just ways that we can build on to the filter build as well.
Yeah.
That's no
And I,
added
and I
cost
think
or
I think
anything.
taking this off as quickly as possible and as simply as possible is going to be the best
Perfect.
bet, unless you guys think otherwise.
I think doing the filter build, I think that's easy to do virtually and probably a great project for the club. I'd like to hear just a couple more minutes on your projects with the big tanks that are feeding a village. Just a few minutes on that, and what kind of cost is that? And I'll explain in a minute why I'm asking that question.
Okay. It definitely depends on our solutions depend on the location, but in general, like our big, I like to call them like comprehensive community water system. So it's usually a borehole. Especially in East Africa, we're drilling pretty far down to hit the water table. In Nepal, it's either a solar lifted borehole. So if the community is above the water source, we're gonna pump it up using solar lifting. But if the water source is above the communities, we're going to use a gravity fed system. And so it's a network of the water source, the borehole or the spring box. Sometimes we contain a natural spring is the best solution. Or depending on which community, especially like in the Amazon, we're going to do like a network of rainwater harvesting systems. So we're definitely going to take the water source, if it's underground, above ground, whatever it is, contain it. Make sure that is also safe to drink. Sometimes we do a chlorine dosing system, depending on, again, where we're working. Or in parts of East Africa, we actually do a reverse osmosis because there's highly contaminated areas with, or highly fluoride contaminated areas. We're all like, yay, fluoride, but it's like deathly high rates. So we actually had to use an RO system. And so once with the water source, um, network of underground pipes. And again, depending on the topography or the geography and location of the system, and um, in parallel to where the community is, we'll use reservoir tanks. And sometimes in Africa, where it's a lot flat, we'll have to actually put them up on um, risers or pillars and sometimes 2, 3 stories high to create that water pressure. But our systems in Tanzania are providing 30,000 liters of clean water a week. And so we're going to store them in the reservoir tanks and then they go to a central location. So it could be a water kiosk at a school. So you actually go and there's multiple taps at a protected water kiosk, or there's a tap stand at each home. And we always add like a filter in the home. So right at point of use, like ready to drink, ready to cook, they're running it through the filter just in case their container's contaminated or maybe it's not clean enough. So there's definitely different levels, and really assessing and doing a household survey prior to it, an engineering survey, a feasibility study prior. Our teams there do that with the local leaders, chieftains, to determine the proper solution.
Those are probably tens of thousands of dollars.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
Just depending on
The,
where you
the,
work, it could be anywhere from like 40,000 for a whole system to like upwards of like 100,000.
yeah. The reason I asked is that I spearheaded a water project in Panama,
Mm.
and two Rotary clubs here in Northern Nevada contributed and got matching grants from Rotary International. And we put a water tank in a small community in Panama. I think it was either 10 or 20,000 gallons, something like that. And it fed a community that was getting unfiltered water. And when we put it in, we put a filter in, and the folks from the two Rotary clubs went down. We didn't really get our hands dirty, but we were there for a dedication ceremony and a party to
The best part.
celebrate the project. But
Yeah.
when we got our money and the Rotary International money, it was I think like a $40,000 project,
Hmm.
and so in a small community in Panama.
Yeah, that's amazing. Happy to discuss any matching grant opportunities too. I've done that with another Rotary before, actually one here in North Carolina, and worked with them to get their district to match. I don't think we did the International Rotary, but we used it actually as a matching challenge for even just the greater wine to water, and we did end up getting a triple match. So some of these communities, because they're so big, or we'd like to do it, make sure the home has access to clean water, but also the schools. And then if there's a healthcare facility, to make sure that you're having clean water everywhere, because the places, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this if you've been to some of these locations that we went to visit I guess a maternity ward. I wouldn't call it like a hospital or anything, but just to deliver a baby, you have to bring your own water. And if you don't have that, somebody has to bring it for you. And I was like, well, where's the doctor washing hands or cleaning utensils? And they're not because there is no water. So we immediately were like, this place needs a well, and this, it's part of our extended community. We're like, unacceptable this day and age. We're gonna make sure, and this isn't me saying this, right? This is our Tanzanian team was like, okay, we're gonna make this right. First, we're gonna do filters so you can at least get water and have clean water now, and then we're gonna work on getting a well. And so all the patients, all the women who are traveling here to deliver their babies or coming here for health care actually have one of the basic things that can give you improved health. It's really hard to recover from that if you're not having clean water to drink. So or wash hands. So we're really trying to make this really comprehensive and make sure the whole community, no matter where that is, has access to water and sanitation, hygiene. Great. Any other questions?
Where did the wine part come from?
Oh, great
I
question.
was going to ask that too.
My husband's in the wine industry. If anybody
Yeah.
says, who is this chick that just hit everybody's LinkedIn accounts? That was me because I was going through your entire board to like, do I know any of these people? I don't, but I was just
We
curious.
we we actually do have our own wine label. Some very generous small vineyards out in Napa make wine on our behalf and it labels that's actually like it's one of my favorite parts to go out there and work with them. And a few other places around the country, other wine partners, wine clubs. But I don't know, there's a few iterations. It's like Doc started as a bartender and he thought like he had found like if you ever hear a story speaking, he like thought he like found his place. He would say like he had been lost so many different times, and at the bar, everyone was just like equal. It could be like a stay-at-home mom or CEO of Fortune 100 company, like everyone's the same. And so when he learned about the water crisis, he was like, it just like stayed with him. He was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that like children under 5, the number one killer of kids under 5 is because they have dirty water. And that just like wrestled with him. And so he was like, well, I have a bar, like I know about wine. So he could play music. So he started having a fundraiser at the bar for water and he raised significant amount of money. I think it shocked him. So he's going to donate it to another organization. And through some connections, like somebody higher up heard about him and like pulled him into his office and he was like, I feel like something's like shaking with you. How about you go see it for yourself? And that's actually when he moved to Darfur, Sudan. And so he took that money and kind of started that. And it's a very long answer. But sometimes we just say like wine, I like to say is our community. Like we love, ideally we'd all be around a table in person. Amanda maybe having a glass of wine or clean water. Um, but just like coming around a table, a virtual table, this meeting together for a common cause, and that's water for us. So like water is
We've
our
hosted
culture.
my husband, like I said, is in the wine industry. We've actually hosted a couple of wine tastings
Oh yeah.
virtually with the club, and I'm noodling through. Like I said, I want the first one to be just let's get it done. Let's do the filters. But maybe we've kind of played with the idea of doing a wine tasting as a fundraiser, and it
Hmm.
would be interesting if we did that, guys, and had the wine tasting. Michael hosts the wine tasting. We'll charge X, fill in the blank, and then we can use that to buy filters for the so we can
Yeah.
truly do wine to water. It'd be kind of fun
Yeah.
to make that work.
I would love it.
So,
Yeah.
and we could just come out to Napa. We could do that.
Let me know when. I'll meet you out there.
I haven't been back to California since I graduated school a couple years ago. So,
Great excuse
yeah.
to go.
What questions do you have about us, Courtney? About Rotary, about the Motarians? That's word new. That's new. I'm hashtag Motarians.
Rotarians. I
Motorcycle
like
Rotarian.
how long, remind me, I know Jerry told me, but I can't recall. How long have you all been meeting together in this space?
I got it wrong earlier. I think Jerry, is it 8 years this year? 2018? Does that sound about right? I think it's about 20.
We chartered July 1st, 2018.
Oh,
Nice.
I got it right. Okay.
What
Yeah.
all inspired you to join like Rotary? Actually, personally, I'm looking and joining one of the local chapters too, but what inspired you to take that step? Because not everybody does it. It's a commitment for sure to connect, um, and serve and
I
give
got
back. But I would love to hear from you all.
I got started 50 years ago. I was a Rotary project. I was an exchange student to Australia. I grew up on a farm in Iowa and went to Australia. So it's kind of like the same story as Amanda.
Mhm.
Little bit different. I gave Jerry's Rotary exchange student a ride home from play practice, and she said, "Have you ever thought about being an exchange student?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Here's Jerry," and he was like, "This paperwork's due tomorrow." And then all of a sudden, I don't think it was quite that fast, but it was that fast. But I came back to Rotary. During the military, I was a translator. I did a lot of traveling and did a lot of water projects actually in Iraq.
Mhm.
And I came back to Rotary when Jerry stood this one up. And part of what drove me is actually the diplomacy side. So
Mhm.
diplomacy and water kind of go hand in hand, right? You can't, it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't take care of the political diplomacy stuff if people don't have clean water. So
Mhm.
that's why I came back.
Very cool. Thanks for
And
sharing.
I can answer also. When I moved to Nevada, my real estate agent and my lawyer were both Rotarians and invited me to join Rotary. And in the process of telling me the story, they talked about their Rotary's project to eradicate polio. And they
Mhm.
told the story of two African countries at war, killing each other. Rotary came in, talked to the two governments. They did a ceasefire for 2, 3, 4 days. Rotary went in and inoculated the children. And then after Rotary left, the two countries went back to war, killing each other. And I thought that was a pretty powerful organization to do that.
Yeah, to put their lives at risk and to do something, yeah, so important. That's a
And
really
to
powerful
be able
story.
to affect a ceasefire like that, right? To
Yeah.
Yeah,
hold up,
that's what I
hold
mean.
up the kids are super important. We need to take care of this. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Love it. Rotary does amazing work all over the world.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I mean, obviously, there's 7 different pillars in Rotary, so depending on obviously your heart is in the water and sanitation pillar. I can hear that, but there are 6 other pillars
Mhm.
for education, for women and children,
Mhm.
for diplomacy. That I'm not going to get them all right.
Mhm.
I'll be better. I've got training tomorrow. But there really is a place for everybody. And one of the things that I've really loved is that Rotary is pretty strict about we don't just give money. We want to get our hands dirty. We want to have an active impact, which is why we as a club being so dispersed, we've been really searching for projects that would allow us to do that rather than just writing a check. Not that we won't write a check, and we do, and we actually support a clinic down in Guatemala in the mountains. Um, but these things that are tangible that we truly
Mhm.
put our not just our checkbooks behind, but our hearts and souls behind. It's
Love
awesome.
that. And one thing I wanted to add to, you just reminded me, Amanda, like when we go and do filter distribution, so right, you have assembled them, they go back, we do quality control to make sure they're great. But then when they go out in the field, whether it's for a disaster response or for filtration in the home, um, especially in disaster response, I always like to tell people just so there's never an assumption like we don't just drop filters off or just like show up. Our former CEO used to say like we like to do like the black ops method for disaster response. Like we don't want to go and say like in Jamaica, go and say clear this whole pathway out. We need to now be on the grid and have power and water and use all these resources because we're working in communities that are already devastated. And so we want to like kind of go in and be really nimble. Um, use minimal resources in that location. And one of the filters also um, eliminate the need for single-use plastic. So often, especially in these underserved communities in the global south, um, especially like in a disaster, there's almost like a secondary disaster, an environmental disaster, when the immediate need for water and all of, shelter and food and everything. Um, kind of disperses maybe 1 month in, maybe 2 months in, then what we're seeing is like the insurmountable amount of trash produced from the response itself. All the organizations coming in, all the governments coming in, and we're seeing just like pallets and pallets. I mean, millions of water bottles just left there, whether they're used or not. They're just then left to go into the waterways. And so that wasn't our initial intention by using this filter, but what we're seeing is it alleviates the need for millions of plastic bottles. Like in a 2 week period, it alleviates the need for about 6,000 filters just in 2 weeks, or 6,000 bottles per filter, just in that 2 week disaster response, using water for all your needs, cooking, bathing, washing, drinking. Um, and so that's just one thing that we really um, try our best to do. And then when we distribute them, we don't just drop them off. Our teams, sometimes it's train the trainer, sometimes it's our disaster response team identifying local leaders. It could be faith groups, it could be Rotary groups, it could be just people who are active and say, I want to help my community, train me. And it's almost like this little group of people that they get trained on the filter. Again, it's super easy, but important to know how to maintain and treat it. So if people are like, why is the flow rate so slow? It's like, oh, we just need to backflush it. So we want to go out and disperse and get the knowledge out, get the filters out. But it's always this making sure we train and everyone who receives one knows, even we do the wash education, the hand washing, the disease transmission education, and then how to maintain and clean it. And so that's just something that's really important to us, that it's this more holistic model instead of just like a drop and leave.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's one of the things that we try to do as well, right? We don't ever want to show up and think we know how everything should go. We always have an in-country sponsor who's looking at the whole picture, which is important.
I mean, I just saw a message, and World Water Day is on March 22nd.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's perfect. So
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think this will light a fire under us. We got a month.
Okay.
Yeah, more than a month. But we'll get something planned by the end of the month, and then we can kind of hop onto the March's water
Wonderful.
month.
And I can follow up with some more details about the filter build, just like more like logistics and next steps, if that's something
Yeah.
that you all are
Yeah, that'd be
interested in.
great. I
And
mean, so
do that.
just so we can kind of backwards plan to it, and what's the lead time look like that we need to have to make it happen?
2 weeks is ideal
Yeah.
for the continental US. Um, we could do probably 10 days if we needed to, but just knowing if we have a confirmation, we do like to just do 2 weeks just to give us enough time to get things out in case there's a random snowstorm or ice storm that hits somewhere like
In
we've been
March. Yeah.
experiencing. We have enough time to get them out the door.
So if we could give you a thumbs up within the next week or so, we'd be well underway to get this done in March. Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Amanda,
Sure.
considering my travels up and down, and in fact, the Nepal thing might be moved forward a couple weeks into March. But anyway, can you take lead on that with
Yeah,
stay
yeah, I
in
can.
contact with Courtney, please?
Yeah, I
That'd
sure
be great.
can. Yeah. And then, so Courtney would probably do it on a Tuesday, but I'll coordinate with you. We'll see what we can do
Okay.
about figuring out a date.
Okay.
I'm leaning probably towards the 24th.
Okay. And I know our operations team, just to get them out to the addresses, will just need addresses
Yeah.
for everybody, and of course, S number of filters, and then we
Yeah,
can.
and we'll try to minimize, like if there are a few of us that are local enough that we could
Okay.
ship them all to one place and maybe minimize the shipping. We'll try to do that as well. So yeah, I will take the lead on that. I would like everybody to think through some ideas. We might have a conversation next Tuesday about logistics and what that looks like and who wants to raise what for whom and who wants to talk their CEO into donating a whole bunch and make him host it at the office.
Yeah,
Things like that.
that'd be great. We do that too. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to join you all this evening.
Thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate you. Appreciate the work you guys are doing and the opportunity to support.
Thank you. Well, right back at you. You guys are doing amazing work around the world in various different ways. So I'm excited to see us do a build together, and who knows where it could go from there.
I am too.
All right. Have a good evening.
Any other closing comments or questions, guys? All right, Courtney.
I want to ride the Boone.
I know. I was gonna say we should just
Come
ride the boom.
on.
We should
Wait
make that
maybe a
happen.
little bit longer. It's pretty nasty right now. Actually, it was like 45. It was beautiful,
It was a
warm, I
beautiful day.
think. But in the
I
summer
will
and the fall is
warn you,
beautiful.
Courtney, never should you look at the weather where you are and the weather where you're going and decide that you should ride. Ask me how I know.
Oh,
I have a whole story about that. Yeah, and Rory goes like this because I drove to right where his house was through the snow. I was like, what is happening? But
oh no. Oh man.
so
Bummer.
we will end with the four-way test. Who'd like to lead us? Thank you, Rory. I appreciate you volunteering to do that.
You didn't see my hand?
I didn't.
Okay, the 4-week test. Are we there? Okay.
Yeah,
4-week
you're good.
test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is
is it
it
the
The
truth?
truth.
Second, is it fair
is
to
it fair
all
to all
concerned?
All
concerned?
concerned.
Third, will it
Will
build
it build
goodwill
Build
and
goodwill and
goodwill and
friendship?
better
friendship?
friendships.
Fourth, will it be
Will it be
beneficial to
beneficial to
all
all
Beneficial to all
concerned?
concerned?
concerned.
And five, will it
Gotta
be
be
fun?
fun.
Be fun. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys. I'm gonna stop recording now, so shenanigans can happen.